Hey guys, welcome to the Brownie Postgame YouTube channel. We have a special guest today. This is the co-founder of the Brownie Postgame YouTube channel. This is my dad, Dan Killi. As you can see, his Twitter handle is right there below his picture. And this is really kind of our first episode where we're going to be on this together. But we also, we haven't done anything for our 1,000 subscribers milestone. So we're actually now even up to 1,500. So we kind of missed the 1,000 one. I want to say thank you to everybody first and foremost for subscribing to the channel, engaging with us, the comments, the likes, engaging with me on Twitter, all that stuff. Like, it's been amazing first month. And we've got a lot of really kind of exciting stuff planned, more videos, more live shows, and especially those post-game shows, which is really the purpose. So I want to introduce you to, first of all, my father, Dan, who's on the show. So, Dad.
Hi there, guys, fellow Browns fans. Glad to be doing this. Excited about the 2019 season, more so than in the recent past, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, let's. So a lot of people have asked me. We're in Florida. I'm in Central Florida. You're in South Florida, and I grew up in Central Pennsylvania, and everybody asked me, like, why are you a Browns fan? Like, how and why? Because historically, even when growing up, there were some rocky years in the '80s, late '80s, and early '90s. And I always tell him, I was like, well, my dad was a Browns fan, and he told me his dad was a Browns fan. They're from New Jersey. We're not from Cleveland. We don't know any of the hot spots in Cleveland. I can't talk to you. I'm not even pretend to be that we went to games as a kid. But I think just start off with that. Like, why are you a Browns fan? And then that will then trickle down to really why I am. So how did you become a Browns fan?
Well, it started in the late 50s. My dad was a Browns fan. He was not an athlete by any means, didn't follow sports all that much, but for some reason he rooted for the Browns in Northern Jersey, and which is really weird because you typically are a Yankees and a New York Giants fan, and eventually the Jets and so forth. But he rooted for the Browns. So I never really knew why he did. I never asked him point blank why he rooted for the Browns. But then after he passed away, in the 70s, late 70s, I got to thinking about it more and more. And it turned out that I think I figured it out. His first name, he was from Germany, came over on the boat, went through Ellis Island, and his first name was Otto.
And when did he come over?
He came over like in 1914, 19.
So like pre-World War I.
Yeah, pre-World War I.
Okay. And he was born in Germany.
Born in Germany with his sister, older sister, mother, and the three of them came over with my grandfather, and then they went back. The grandfather went back, and my grandmother, my aunt, and my dad stayed in this country. So you can imagine growing up pre-World War I, and then World War II eventually, but pre-World War I, and then World War I broke out and against Germany, being a German with a name like Otto and not John or Bob or Sam, he probably felt a little uncomfortable in school. Had to learn the language, which he didn't have an accent at all. He was so young when he came over. By the time he picked up English, he spoke like he had been here all his life. And so I think the fact that when Otto Graham became such a great player for the Browns, that's when my dad said, hey, that's the guy I'm going to root for. He's got the same name as me, and not everybody else has one of those. And so I think that's why he rooted for the Cleveland Browns. So I began, rooting for him when he did. There weren't a lot of games on TV in the 50s. We were in Northern Jersey, which is New York Giants territory. It was pre-expansion, so the games were on the radio, and we used to sit there listening on the radio to the Browns play the Giants, and the classic battles between Jim Brown and Sam Huff. Of course, we had to listen to the local announcer, who Huff was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and Jimmy Brown would run for 5 or 6 yards almost on every carry. Sam Huff would tackle him, and then he'd say what a great tackle he made and whatnot, So, but then ever since then, I've been a loyal, serious Browns fan, and been through all the ups and downs, all the seasons, all the great players. Back when Jimmy Brown was playing, you had Milt Plum as the quarterback, and Gary Collins. Had some great defense, and they played very well. That was their last championship, I think, in '64. I think was the last time the Browns and pre AFL coming into play and so forth. But so serious. Watched all the games I could.
Did you ever get to go to any live games like when you were a kid?
Well, the one I went to was not when I was a kid. Late in life, I got married and had to go into the service because I had a low draft number. And in December of '71 or '72, my father-in-law, my wife's father, had season tickets to the Jets games. And the Jets were playing in Shea Stadium against the Browns. So he gave us tickets, and it turned out, unfortunately for my dad, that it was so bitter cold. I mean, it just almost sub-zero temperatures, that my mother wouldn't let my dad go because he had suffered a mild heart attack not too far from that time. So she was afraid of him, being out in the cold for that long a period of time. So she couldn't go. So we went and watched. Joe Namath was still playing towards the end of his career on bad legs. I think the Browns won the game.
So let's. I'm going to look it up because we have the.
Go ahead.
What year was it? 1971.
72, I think. December '72.
Browns Jets. Cleveland Browns skate to a 1972 victory over the Jets. It says they won.
Right. I forget who the quarterback was.
There's an ad block on that one. 72 game log. So you said it was December 17th. Is that?
Yeah, it was before Christmas, and I had already been in the service and had been in Kansas City for a while, and then they were transferring me to Germany. So I got my orders, was able to go home. However, they were shipping me out right before Christmas. And so I watched, we went to the game. We froze our tails off, even though we had blankets and hot chocolate and the whole 9 yards and everything. But it was a great game.
All right, so this is what it says. It says it was 23 degrees.
23. Yeah, but the wind chill, the field was frozen.
28-mile-an-hour wind chill.
Yeah, right. It was brutal.
26-10. The game was with Bo Scott scoring a rushing 27-yard rushing touchdown. You had Frank Pitts got an 80-yard pass from Mike Phipps.
Mike Phipps was the quarterback. Yeah, Purdue guy. Yeah.
Mike Phipps threw 2 touchdowns, both to Frank Pitts, one for 80 and one for 7.
Yeah, there was a really long pass play that was completed. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and Joe Namath didn't throw any touchdowns. But
no, he didn't play very well. The Browns defense and the Jets weren't very good, I don't think, at that point, because he was at the end of his career. They had won their Super Bowl, a couple of years before that. But anyway, the funny part of the story is that a couple of days later, they sent me to Fort Dix, put me on a plane, shipped me to Germany. So I go to Germany and Frankfurt, land, go to Bitburg, Germany, which is where I was
Air Force, right? Air Force.
In the Air Force, and which is where I was going to be stationed. Get there, check in, and it was like the 23rd of December, the 22nd, and they said, "Well, everybody's off on vacation and holiday, so we won't be able to process you until the next week." So I sat there, and I didn't really have to go, but that's I had my ticket and everything. I had to go for that. But anyway, so I sat there in the barracks for like 3 days or 4 days and did absolutely nothing, except on Sunday. What they used to do is on the Armed Forces TV, they used to post the games, the NFL games of the week or whatever. So I'm sitting there Sunday or Saturday, whatever it was, a week after I'd been to the Browns game, and all of a sudden pops up on the TV the Browns game against the Jets. So
Nice.
I elbow the guy next to me, and I say, I'm at that game. I know exactly how it's going to happen.
Were you doing the play-by-play like, oh, here's going to be an 80-yard touchdown pass?
Yeah, I witnessed it all. So
that's great.
That was back in 1972.
Wow.
So I've been a fan ever since. Been through the drive, been through the fumble.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been this excited about a season since Bernie Kosar was drafted in the supplemental draft, and I heard that, he had done really well at Miami.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go to the Browns. I mean, he actually, not many players wanted to go to the Browns, but he purposely, because he was from the Cleveland area, he wanted to go there. So I was excited to get a great quarterback, even though he wasn't your typical, throwing type of quarterback. He threw a lot sidearm. He just had a funny delivery, had a funny way of going back. He certainly couldn't run very well, but he was very effective, threw very few interceptions. That's the part I liked about the most. And he had Webster Slaughter and Brian Brennan and Ozzie Newsome, and he had Kevin Mack and Ernest Byner in the backfield. So I mean, they had great defense. So they were fun to watch. But ever since he left, everybody knows the story about all the Browns quarterbacks and all the failures and all the coaches and all the miserable drafts that they made. So we thought maybe Manziel would be the answer. That turned out not to be the case. But certainly with Baker, the moment he stepped on the field in that Jets game last year, you could feel the excitement. I was watching the game on TV. The first pass he threw, I think, was for 13 or 14 yards.
Yeah, we were watching that game together.
Yeah, so I mean, it was great. And then for them to come back 14-0 and win that game, that really set the stage for what he did for the rest of the season. And certainly, with Dorsey making the picks that he's made, and the fact that he's gotten some free agents to come on board, I'm really excited about this season.
Well, it's funny, you mentioned the Kosar stuff, because the last game that we were actually at in Cleveland was October 10th. I just looked it up, 1993. That was the Dolphins-Browns. We went up there.
Right.
The Dolphins weren't very good, and the Browns were okay. At the time, the Browns were...
Belichick was the coach.
The Browns were 3-1 at the time, having beat the Bengals, 49ers, and Raiders convincingly. And then you've got they lost to the Colts, and then they had the Dolphins up next after a bye week. And we're like, we got it. I mean, after a bye week, we just came off a loss at home against the Dolphins. And Marino was playing. It was Marino versus Kosar. And Kosar, it was at the end, and he was, it was getting a little dicey because Testaverde was, sniffing right over his shoulder, and that was the game that Marino tore his ACL, and Scott Mitchell came in.
Right.
And we were like, oh, this is great. Scott Mitchell's in. We got the backup quarterback now, and he ended up lighting the Browns up. The only positive thing coming out of that game was it featured the longest interception return for a touchdown in Browns history from Najee Mustafa, who's actually still, I looked it up recently, still the longest interception return for a touchdown in Browns history. And then a couple weeks later, because Kosar got benched during that game, and a couple weeks later, he was cut and went to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it came out later on that Belichick, was a disciplinarian, and I don't know if he called the plays or what, but Kosar had him down, I think, on the 5-yard line, and he didn't like the play that Belichick coached or called, or one of the coaches called. So he audibled at the line of scrimmage and threw a little down and out to one of the wide receivers for a touchdown. So, and then evidently Belichick didn't like it on the sidelines, and they got into a little bit of a tiff there. And they had just signed.
But he that was a touchdown.
Yeah.
He threw because he said I saw an interview and he said the last pass I threw was one that I designed. I want to say it was to Michael Jackson. Was a touchdown pass, and that was the last one. I mean, imagine getting cut after signing that guaranteed contract. Cut.
I don't think it was guaranteed. I think that's why they cut him.
Oh, it was just about to be guaranteed. It was like if he would have played like another couple weeks or something with it.
It was like $23 million he had signed, and of course he wasn't. What year was that? I mean, that was
93.
93. But I'm saying Kosar was sort of at the end of his career. He wasn't in the middle and wasn't.
Well, this says the Browns the contract could be worth.
Be worth.
Well, his original contract was like $5.2 million back in like '85.
Right.
But yeah, the interesting thing. I mean, imagine getting cut. Imagine you change a play, and you score.
Right.
And they're like, hey. I think that's one of those. It's just like in an office working environment when things get hostile between a boss and an employee. I mean, you worked in HR your entire career. When things get hostile between that, sometimes you can't repair it. And when the underling in this case, it was a star player who thought he was untouchable. He had he was like basically a son to the owner, and he goes. And
he was revered in Cleveland. I mean,
still is.
He would after games.
You're wearing the shirt. Show the shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, shirt burning.
This is the burning. Yeah, there's the burning and the homage. Homage there, like right there. Yep. So I guess that actually, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's a really good segue into kind of another like little announcement. I reached out to Homage, and I've been looking for like kind of some sponsorships and partnerships with the program because I don't want to just do AdSense on this. I want to look for something that actually gives back to the audience, and give them something beyond just like clicking on ads because that's silly. And by the way, the whole point of this channel isn't to monetize it. We're not trying to make money off of this. Everything that we're gonna dump back into the fans.
Yeah, my perspective is that we're not going to be professional announcers, the way you see it on TV where they critique, and we're obviously not professional ex-football players either. We're going to analyze things from a fan perspective, from the fans sitting either in the stands or watching at home on TV, and we're going to say, why did they do that, and what was the reasoning behind that, and those are we're going to analyze it from a fan's perspective, and hopefully other fans will enjoy how we go through it.
Yeah, and I think there's a market for that. I mean, and that was sort of one of the reasons why we created this channel because, as you and I think one of the biggest things that when we talk just about every day, and we've been on the phone and everything like that, and when we see each other in person, like we talk about the Browns 80% of the time.
Right.
It's like my kids, your grandkids, and the Browns, and that's one of the reasons.
Now we got something to talk about.
Yeah, now we can do it. Now we can do it live and actually record it. Right. This is but that's one of the reasons when people ask me why are you doing the channel and stuff like that, and I was like, well, my dad and I, all we do is talk about the Browns. We are passionate Browns fans. We are the type of Browns fans that have lived through the good times and the bad times and the really bad times. The team getting ripped out of Cleveland, and the bad years even coming back, and all the ups and downs and the heartbreaks. And it's something that we both love, and we talk about it all the time. So I was like, why don't we? I was always looking for some more content, and unfortunately, I don't know, and I don't want to speak for everybody in Cleveland, but I have a hard time relating to the professional Cleveland-based media. And I don't really feel like they best represent the Browns fans. They're national media type people that they might be Browns fans, but they don't tell the story the way that we want to kind of explain it from our side. And there's some other guys that we've been connecting with, like Quincy Carrier and, the guys at the Road Dogs podcast and stuff like that, who are also Browns fans. Like, this is what we are. So after every game, and I think I may have said this before, but after every game, we're going to break it down. We're going to be live like this after every Browns game. So the second that the Browns game is over, we will be live, and we're going to break down every game. We're going to give you our thoughts, big plays, things that happened during the game, and we're just going to talk about the game. And we'd love to have a live audience there right with us, contact, with live chat and everything, and we'll have the chat below. So you'll be able to participate and everything there. So I just want to say, we want to say thank you to the fans, everybody who's subscribed already. So with the homage shirt that my dad is wearing today, we're going to be entering into an affiliate partnership with them. So it doesn't cost you guys anything. We're going to get a promo code, so you'll be able to get a little discount from homage. Homage. I always call them homage because the silent H. Homage. We're going to be we'll give you a little discount code.
Spell it for them so they know.
I'll put the link below. Okay. So, and we'll do a discount code for you. Anything that you buy through the discount code obviously will support the channel, but be able to knock a few bucks off of it as well. And we're going to be doing giveaways on each one of our shows. So the shirt that my dad is wearing, the Kosar shirt, a lot of other stuff. Homage has been so great. I reached out to them and say, hey, I'm just looking for a partnership, and I want to make sure that it's Cleveland-based stuff. I know that they actually have a lot of other brands and stuff on there, but they're Ohio-based. So we want to make sure that we're giving back to the fans. So we're going to do giveaways on as many as we can do. So hopefully it'll be a mutually beneficial thing for our audience and for the people at Homage to get them a little bit more exposure and maybe get them a couple of new customers as well. So anyway, that's the whole thing that's a big kind of announcement for our 1,000 subscriber stuff. So we're going to be doing giveaways. So stay tuned for all that kind of stuff as well. But all right, so let's talk about some of the upcoming stuff going on. We have the draft next week, and we have a video that I'll link as well, where if all you have to do is give us your prediction on who you think the Browns are going to draft with the first pick. You can have up to 3 choices, and we've got some giveaway stuff. This is pre-homage partnership stuff. So we got the elf. If you're a Browns fan, it's about being an elf. So we got the elf hat. We've got a couple of shirts as well. These are non-licensed shirts. We got Baker touchdown maker, and let's get baked. So we're going to be giving away them. This is going to be our final non-homage stuff. So
we'll have a tiebreaker if several people pick the guy that we eventually pick as our number 1 pick, whether it's in the first round or whether it's in the second round at 49. And then we'll put the names in the hat of the guys who got it correct or gals who got it correct. Yeah. And we'll have our giveaway. Yeah.
And if nobody gets it right, if we get it all wrong, then everybody who participates is just going to go in the hat. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe like for the people who get it right, we'll do a giveaway for them. But then the last one, like one of the shirts, will have everybody who participated. We'll just pull it. So everybody has a chance. Even if you lost, you got a chance to just for commenting and being a subscriber. We want to give back as much as possible because, really, I mean, it's a YouTube channel. It's fun. It's about interaction. So, Dad, in terms of the draft next week, the fact that we don't have a first round pick, which is actually a very exciting thing. Not that this isn't the draft day movie anymore, where it's the excitement about the Browns.
Still could be, because I read just the other day that Dorsey said that he wouldn't mind moving up to the first round if the right deal came along, and he is dangling Duke Johnson out there. And so I'm sure he's getting some hits, and maybe people don't want to commit too early. And maybe they want to see who goes early in the first top 10 or whatever. And then if they're interested in Duke Johnson, they make a trade and the Browns come back up maybe to 17, or, where the Giants got their pick, or maybe, sooner than that, or maybe they go into the 20s. It all depends on what Dorsey sees as his sleeper. If he sees somebody there that he really wants, that could be a plug and play type of player that we need for 2019, whether it be offensive line, whether it be defensive line, linebacker, a cornerback or whatever. I don't think they'll go obviously running back or wide receiver at this point.
Thank God, not quarterback.
Oh yeah, we don't have to do that. The fact that it's still wide open, and Dorsey has been known to pull off these trades. We could go as late as 49, or we could go earlier.
Well, I think a couple good things about this draft. I've always said it really just having a bad season and your team is down and you have to rebuild it. There's so much luck that gets involved with it. And why is, it's because you don't get to pick who's coming out in the draft, what level of talent's there. Now, I don't have anything against Kyler Murray. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to have hopefully have a great career. I've never been big on running quarterbacks, especially undersized running quarterbacks. And I'd be excited, but I'd also be very nervous about a 5'10" running quarterback on the team and investing the first round pick in. I really like Dwayne Haskins coming out of Ohio State, and people are saying that he's falling for whatever reason. He ran slow. Who cares if he ran slow in the 40? I mean, you don't want your quarterback running. Look at the guys who have won Super Bowls with Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger recently. I mean, the guys winning, Peyton Manning. These guys weren't running quarterbacks. They're about stepping back and throwing.
Sure.
He's 6'3", 230 something. I mean, he's a tank. So whoever ends up with Dwayne Haskins is going to be really happy, I think, with their overall investment. But I'm just glad that we're not in a position where the whole world is saying you got to take Kyler Murray, a 5, we're 5'10". And if you see that you stand next to a guy even if you stand next to guys in college football, the 6'6", 300-pound offensive lineman, a guy like Myles Garrett coming to try to take off your head. If you're 5'10", there's only so many of those hits you're going to have. And that's why a guy like Lamar Jackson, although I think he's talented as all heck, I think he's got the speed and he's got a decent arm, but he's a run-first, skinny, small-framed quarterback.
Well,
you don't make it long.
Look what happened to RG3.
Yeah, another good example.
He got hurt, while he was at Washington, really bad injury, and then came back into the game to play. I think Shanahan should be shot for that. But that ended his time in Washington, and then we pick him up and we run him, and he gets
injured again.
Yeah, he gets battered around pretty good while he wasn't on a very good team either. I mean, the Browns weren't very good.
He won a game. He was our 1-15 that year. But I mean, you look at guys, Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham. I can go on and on.
Yeah, sure.
You don't last as a running quarterback and if you look at where the Arizona Cardinals are with that pick, having just moved up they moved up in the draft last year to get Josh Rosen, if I'm not incorrect. Right. They had one season with him. They're ready to bail to go with Kyler Murray, who's got all the talent in the world. But he's 5'10", and that's where they're going. And so how this relates to the whole Duke Johnson thing, if you look at Arizona just released their season ticket, schedule release video, their branded video for that, the hype video, and they didn't include Josh Rosen in that video, which really says a lot about their intentions for him, or if not, it's a really weird smokescreen.
Well, I read this morning that they were shopping him to the Giants, but the Giants anonymous source said that they didn't like Josh Rosen because he got along with his teammates pretty good, but he didn't do well with the public, his image with the public.
Yeah.
And therefore the Giants didn't want that type of situation, especially if you're going to take over for Eli Manning. So I think the Giants are off the board as far as a trade for Josh Rosen. Where else he could go, I don't know. I haven't really followed it beyond that.
Well, the rumors early on were the Redskins may have been interested in him as well. Right. And I think that the challenge with that is if you actually look at the breakdown of film of Josh Rosen last year, which is it's a little bit tough because he's on a team like one of the worst offensive lines probably the worst offensive line in football. He got battered around, and I think that if you look at what the Browns did when they put rookie quarterbacks behind really bad offensive line, it damages you. I mean, psychologically, if you think that you've got that half second or full second less to make a decision, the game's faster, you have to make decisions fast anyway, and then you're second guessing it because you don't have enough time to actually process the information, then make the play. And if you look back at his decision making last year, it wasn't great, right? So so whoever's going to be investing in him is going to then have to unprogram him from those bad the bad play last year to then hope that he can be something better, which is you're taking a risk. And I think what the Arizona Cardinals want is they want a first-round pick. There's no way you're getting a first-round pick. You'd be lucky if you got a third, right? He just didn't show enough. And he got the off-field, like people, he rubs people the wrong way. He comes across as conceited and arrogant.
He did that. If you watch the draft, the year before when he got drafted, and the fact that he got passed over and then passed over and passed, and then his attitude once he got picked about, well, I'm going to show these guys, that I shouldn't have been passed over, and then he wasn't able to make it happen.
There's a good video to watch. I'm going to give a shout out to Strong Opinion Sports with Zach Schaumler. There's a great video that he breaks down Josh Rosen, and I highly recommend his channel. It's amazing. I would love to have him on the show as well because he's just fantastic. And the way he's a former college quarterback himself, and he breaks some stuff down. And when he showed the Josh Rosen stuff, I'm like, this is an amateur analyst really kind of exposing the truth about Josh Rosen. And I think that's where if he's doing it, the pros are looking at it too and going, maybe there's some talent there, and he's got, comes from the big UCLA program and all that stuff, but is it worth investing, making the gamble for your future in that guy?
Right. Well, going back to how we got on this topic, Duke Johnson is being dangled out there. Right. And so we could move up to the first round if somebody wants a Duke Johnson bad enough. We're not going to go into top 10, but we could go in the teens and certainly in the 20s. May have to give up more than just Duke Johnson, may have to give up a second rounder somewhere else.
Yeah, Duke Johnson's not worth a first rounder on his own, even at 20s. He's just not.
Right. So, but that all depends on what Dorsey wants to do and whether he's figured out a guy that he really wants on the team. And if he does, fine. If not, fine. Let's go with Duke Johnson. I mean, he's a great player and he fits in. Kareem Hunt is not going to be available at the beginning. So they're going to need a second running back behind Chubb. There's no guarantee Chubb can't get hurt or miss some time.
He's been hurt in the past. I mean, if without Duke Johnson, we're looking at Dontrell Hilliard, second season out of Tulane. And I think that Dontrell's got, if you're really looking at the backup running back, the situational running back, I think I'd much rather have Duke Johnson as my situational backup running back than really anybody else. But Dontrell Hilliard's not going to be bad either. I mean, for that, again, it's a role-based position. It's not a leader role, not starting role. But week 8, come back. You got Kareem Hunt sitting there he's gonna play a role on the team.
Yeah, and according to the rules, I guess he can play in the preseason. So he's going to get some work in, and he can be with the team. I don't know if he can be on the sidelines for a game or even if he's not dressed.
I don't think he can. I think the suspension. This is like he can't.
Yeah, can't be around.
Yeah,
but so it won't be like he's totally new. He'll have spring training and preseason under his belt, and he's a great prospect. So he should be able to fit in fairly well. And to go back and forth between him and Chubb, that's going to be a dangerous duo, I think.
Yeah, I think I mean I absolutely think so too. I mean, you look at Kareem Hunt was one of the best, if not the best, running back in the NFL the last 2 seasons. He didn't forget to how to play football just because he went through the suspension thing. Right. Now, people can definitely have the criticism over the character-related issues. I, for one, have always been somebody who's been, somebody who believes in second chances. I believed in second chances with guys like Michael Vick. I believe in them with guys like Kareem Hunt. And I think there are some certain circumstances, like the Ray Rice circumstance was like so egregious that I think, although he probably, again, deserves a second chance from a perception standpoint, that one was like, that crossed the line. If you look at how aggressive that video was.
His girlfriend forgave him, maybe because she was looking at the paycheck that he was going to get if he ever got back. But she didn't hold it against him. And yeah, that video was horrible. And the NFL really should be criticized for the way they handled it. And if it hadn't been for the video, he would have played. He would have continued to play, and it would have been his word against hers, and then she would have changed her story. So, domestic violence like that, especially when it's captured on videotape, is very damning.
Yeah, and with the Kareem Hunt thing, I mean, I did my research on the Kareem Hunt situation as well, and if you look at it, although I'm not advocating in any way, shape, or form, I have 2 daughters. Right, I'm not advocating violence in any way, shape, or form. But you have to be. I mean, we live in a world of, not everything's black and white. Okay, right. Just the Kareem Hunt situation and the Ray Rice situation are nowhere near the same. And I don't ever advocate ever putting your hands on a woman or doing anything like violence in any way. It's stupid. So I'm not advocating that. But if you look at the situation, and then you get the stories from the other people, I mean.
Well, Dorsey wants to give him a second chance. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he's a Dorsey guy. That's the thing I do like about Dorsey as well. He's bringing in guys that he believed in the past, right. That he has experience with. If he was just Kareem Hunt from the Houston Texans, and he didn't know him as a person. He wasn't around. Then I'd be more weary about it. But if you look at the other guys that he's brought in. Olivier Vernon and Sheldon Richardson, guys that, we're looking for somebody to believe in them a little bit more than the teams and the situations like in the past.
Right. And Dorsey, will give him a shot just like he gave Josh Gordon a, second, third shot. And it didn't work out for us, unfortunately. But he obviously did something that Dorsey said, that's it, you're out of here.
Right.
And we got something from the Patriots, and he performed okay for them, but obviously he wasn't over his issues and could not even survive the rest of the season.
He would have won. He would have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, drugs can do that to you. You get hooked on drugs. It's never easy to get off of them, and.
He's got some demons. I mean,
yeah,
Josh.
For sure.
I mean, I think the good thing. I think we all now can look back when we lost Josh Gordon and we got rid of him for like a 5th round pick. I think everybody was like, we had invested so much in believing that he was going to come back and do something for us, and right. Then the fact that we basically got nothing for him. We at least it was something versus just outright cutting him. So it was something. But at the end of the day, it was disappointing. But I think everybody will agree that we are in a much better situation now with our wide receivers. You've got Jarvis and Odell and Callaway and Higgins. We're good. And you don't have those issues. I mean, people are looking at Odell and saying that he's going to be a problem. Like, I don't think Odell Beckham is going to be a problem at all. I think everything I've read about him, everything I've seen, the actual Giants fans, the smart Giants fans that aren't just emotional and losing their mind are like, we're not just upset for losing the player. We're losing the person that he was. And I'm happy for him because look at him. He gets to play with his best friend in the world, with a quarterback that he's gone on record saying that he, quote unquote, I wish you were my quarterback. He gets to play with that guy in an up and coming team that was just voted the most passionate fan base in the NFL. And we are a testament, obviously, of that. So I think Odell's going to be in a much better place. So I would take Odell over Josh Gordon all day and twice on Sunday, literally. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, going back to some of the other stuff, going back to how we originally started the conversation. I always wanted to ask you about this. So when we took some trips to Cleveland when I was younger.
To the old stadium.
Yes, the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. What an experience that is. I feel, even though we never lived in Cleveland and we never lived in Ohio, I still feel that we have some, we've earned our stripes, right? Because we've spent the time. We went to that stadium with the pillars in front of us. We have to look around the outside to see what was going on in the field.
And the trough in the bathroom.
Yeah, the trough in the bathroom. That was an experience when you're a kid. You're like, I'm gonna wait for the one stall, which was, brutal. It was brutal, but it was fun. I mean, I remember dressing up in all layers, the long johns, the sweatpants, the snow pants, the layer upon layer. because it was so brutally cold in Cleveland.
Right.
And that's the other thing that I'm really, really excited about as being, I mean, we haven't had that experience. We haven't had that playoff experience in Cleveland in decades. Can you imagine? And the NFL's not ready for this either. There's nothing like December and then possibly January football in Cleveland, Ohio, with how bitter it could possibly be there. Imagine the home field advantage in that situation. Gosh, it would absolutely be insane.
Yeah, especially if you got an opponent that's used to playing indoors, or like Miami playing in really nice weather, Jacksonville or Tampa or whatever. So I mean, clearly an advantage if we're playing well and we've adjusted, to the outside environment. That's for sure.
Now, there's a guy that actually reached out to me on LinkedIn who's a Texas guy, and he's a Browns backer in Texas. And I was like, hey, I was a Browns backer, Central PA Browns backer back when we lived there.
Yeah.
How did you hook up with the Browns backers in Central? Was it something that you found on the early Prodigy internet days? How did you find them?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, there were guys that were indicating that we had this, Browns backers club. They're all across the country, and we have one in Harrisburg, which is the capital of Pennsylvania, and we were in Hershey, so we were only a few minutes away, and we used to go to a bar in Steelton to watch the Browns with, I don't know, 30, 40 other people, and more often than not be disappointed because they weren't playing very well. But still, it was exciting. They weren't on TV. They weren't getting a lot of notoriety, but it was fun to be around. And I actually did that last year when I was in Bethany Beach, Delaware. We have a place there. And I was able to go to the local bar to watch the Browns play either on a Thursday night or on a Sunday. And it's fun to be around other Browns fans who are doing the same thing. Of course, you're around Steelers fans too, and Ravens fans, particularly in the Baltimore area. So you're outnumbered, but at least you're sitting with some company that you can enjoy the game.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is after starting this channel and putting out some of the content that we've put out already, and interacting with some of the other Browns fans that are out there, the thing that surprised me the most about all of it and starting this channel, launching it off, and seeing the response that I've gotten was how positive the other Browns fans have been. Because having not been people that were local from Cleveland, like we've always been the people that are like, oh, you're the Browns fans. Living in central Pennsylvania in between, Redskins, Eagles, and Steeler country. And now I feel closer to Cleveland than I've ever felt before with interacting with other Browns fans and finding that online community. I've always been active on Reddit, and even back in the days, the old forum days, like the Bernie's Insiders days before it went to like 24/7 Sports. But yeah, I mean, it's great being a Browns fan. It's great being. Maybe we'll even get up to. You're going to go to that Baltimore game. Right. So
I have a friend who's a season ticket holder in Baltimore, and he's already invited me to the September 26th game in Baltimore. So I think that's the first time they play them, and then they play them at home later in the season. So that'll be one of the early tests in division for the Browns. So
that'll be fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to that.
Maybe we've been talking possibly about going up to a game in Cleveland as well. So that's something that could be in the plans. We'll see how that goes. The tickets, from what I'm hearing, have doubled. Doubled for the season. So the Browns are going to be a hot ticket. Last year, we went to the Browns Tampa Bay Buccaneers game in Tampa, and we paid $250 a ticket for that. So I can imagine. I mean, but we've got some buddies up there, so maybe we'll work out a deal with some of our new friends from the Cleveland area. But yeah, guys.
One of my buddies was out in Las Vegas last week, and so I asked him to look into putting a $100 bet down that the Browns would win the Super Bowl. So he said, "Sure, no problem." Goes in to the
$100 bet.
$100 bet.
Okay.
So then he goes in and he texts me back and says, "Dan, the odds are only 10-1. So that shows you how much things have changed between an 0-16 season, then going 7-8-1 with Baker and Odell Beckham, that the Browns are a 10-1 favorite to win the Super Bowl. And if you look at it, there's 32 teams in the NFL. You probably today could eliminate half of them. 16 of them have no shot whatsoever of winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So they're in the top 16, and even that, they're probably halfway through that list because of the talent on paper that they have.
Right.
And that's why the odds makers have gotten them down to 10-1. So I told my buddy, I said, well, that's not worth $100 bet. So change it to a $50 bet. I don't mind throwing 50 at it for 10-1. If I was really expecting 25-1. In that. So when that didn't happen, I said to my buddy, just make it a $50 bet. So I have a $50 ticket coming to me when he gets here in a day or so back home. And
great.
I'll cherish that until we're statistically eliminated from the playoffs or from the Super Bowl. It'll be worth something holding it for that long.
So you've got some skin in the game as well. So that's good. That's good. Well, all right. So guys, we've been at it for like a little over 45 minutes. So this has turned into very long form content. This is almost like a podcast today. So we're going to kind of wrap it up here. But again, thank you so much, everybody, for supporting the channel, for being a subscriber. Getting us over 1,000 subscribers was definitely the first milestone. It blew me away that people were subscribed. They keep subscribing just organically on their own for the videos that we're putting out there. And so it's really exciting. We're looking forward to interacting with you guys live during our draft coverage Thursday night. So we will be live for the draft. So just come onto the channel and experience that with us. Unfortunately, we won't be able to broadcast anything, but we will be doing our own analysis and giving you our opinions about what's going on. But then also those games.
You can get your picks in if you haven't submitted a pick yet, who you think we're going to do, who we're going to pick, whether it be in the first round or second, or maybe trade down to the third round. You got 3 choices, so a couple of your guys may be gone, but you might get lucky.
Yep. We've got giveaway merch. We've got stuff.
We got merchandise. We have, I think, over 60 or 70 picks that are in so far. So, and some are down at 1, and others are up at 10 or 11. As far as numbers of people picking them. So there are some favorites out there that people are looking at and trying to analyze, okay, who's going to be available at 49. That's our best shot at this point, but that all could change in a heartbeat if Dorsey decides to do something.
Oh, that's going to be the fun thing. So even though we don't have a pick in the first round, it's still going to be exciting to be like if we move back into it. So if nothing else, it'll be fun to do. So guys, again, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button, click the notification button. So all the videos that we have going on, you'll be notified as soon as they go live. And as always, go Browns.
Go Brownies.